Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Mirror Force deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Izzy. And this deck is an extremely interesting deck based on one of the most iconic trap cards ever created. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. And definitely give Izzy some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. This card is one of our main boss monsters that actually has an insane ability that you can reveal this card in your hand to be able to protect your back row, and also if you do activate a back row, you can actually special summon this card to your side of the field and set a spell or trap from your deck to your side of the field, which is an insane effect to instantly get to the exact card you need while also getting a 3000 attack point monster on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Lith, Lady of Lament. Lith is definitely a 3-of in the build and works really well in this build because we are playing a Lair of Darkness package in this deck. And this card has the ability, if this card is normal summon, its original attack becomes 1000. And quick effect, you can actually tribute a dark monster to reveal 3 normal trap cards from your deck, and your opponent randomly chooses one of them to set to your field, and you shuffle the rest back in the deck, helping you get to the exact Mirror Force that you need. We then play 3 copies of Arima. Arima is really good as a 3-of in the build to be able to use to basically get to your copy of Lair of Darkness, because you can discard this card to add Lair of Darkness from your deck to your hand. We then also play a single copy of Darkest Diablosis, Lord of the Lair. This card is definitely a 1-of in the deck. It has an insane ability. If a dark monster you control is tributed, you can special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard, which is a great effect to instantly get this card out on your side of the field, because it has 3000 attack points and it's an awesome boss monster. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with 3 copies of the Fang of Critias. Fang of Critias is definitely a 3-of in the build, so it actually works as a combo piece with our copy of Mirror Force to step into Mirror Force Dragon, one of the most powerful cards ever created. I absolutely love Mirror Force Dragon, and it's so cool to actually summon in this build. We then play 3 copies of Lair of Darkness. Lair of Darkness is an extremely powerful field spell that works really well in this deck, so we are playing a bunch of trap cards that work with our copy of Lith. But this card has the ability that all face-up monsters on the field become dark, and once per turn, if you attribute a monster that you control to activate a card effect, you can actually treat a dark monster your opponent controls even though you do not control it. And once per turn, during the end phase, you get to special summon as many Torment tokens that are Fiend, Dark, level 3, 1000 attack and 1000 defense as possible to the turn player's field in defense position up to the number of monsters tributed this turn while this card was face up, which is a great effect to be able to use, but I really like this card in the deck as it works really well with our copy of Lith to be able to treat our opponent's monsters. We then also play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is great in the deck as a 3-of to basically deal with anything that Mirror Force doesn't deal with, as you can basically use this card to break your opponent's board and fuse their cards away, which is amazing to be able to do. And also with your copy of Lair of Darkness, since it's turning everything into a dark monster, you can basically go in for Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which is an insanely powerful boss monster to make in this deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with 3 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is really good in the deck as a 3-of to basically help you get to the exact trap that you need. This card lets you banish a normal trap card from your deck, except a copy of this card, and then set a card with the same name directly from your deck. Also, it can be activated this turn, and you'll activate 1 trap card for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, which is a really cool effect to be able to use to instantly get to the exact trap card that we need. We then play 2 copies of Mirror Force Launcher. Mirror Force Launcher is a really powerful continuous trap card that has the ability that once per turn, during your main phase, you can discard a monster to add a Mirror Force from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and if this set card is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can set this card from the graveyard and a Mirror Force from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and they can be activated this turn, which is a really powerful effect to be able to use, and I love this card as a 2-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of the original Mirror Force. This card is such an iconic card and so cool to be able to play in this deck, as when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you destroy all attacks your monsters your opponent controls, which is such a powerful ability to be able to use, and it's such a classic card. We then play 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force, which is actually my favorite Mirror Force of them all, and definitely comment down below which one your favorite is. Storming is really good, as when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you return all attacks your monster your opponent controls back to their hand, bouncing them back to the hand, which is actually insane to be able to do, because they have to be able to normal summon them back to their side of the field, or in the case of extract monsters, it will bounce them back to the extract, which is actually insane. We then play 2 copies of Blazing Mirror Force. Blazing Mirror Force is really good as a 2-of in the build, because this card is to be able to when an opponent's monster declares an attack, and destroy as many attacks with your monster your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, take damage equal to half to the combined original attack of those destroyed monsters, and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took, which is a great effect just to help you do some burn damage to your opponent, which is really, really powerful. We then play 2 copies of Drowning Mirror Force. Drowning Mirror Force is one of the most powerful Mirror Forces in the entire game, because when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you shuffle all attacks your monsters your opponent controls back into the deck, which is an extremely powerful effect just to be able to get monsters off the field. We then play 2 copies of Quaking Mirror Force. Quaking Mirror Force is really good, but it does not work against link monsters, which is the only unfortunate thing about this card, that when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you change all attacks from your monsters that your opponent controls to face down defense position, and monsters changed to face down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle position, which is an extremely powerful effect, but the only downside of this card is it doesn't work with link monsters. We then play 2 copies of Crush Card. Crush Card is great in the deck, so we can step into Doom Dragon and the extract using the Fang of Critias, and why not play 2 iconic trap cards in this deck, Mirror Force and Crush Card. We then play 2 copies of Eradicator Epidemic. Eradicator Epidemic is really good because your Mirror Forces will basically deal with all of the monsters that your opponent's summoning, but your copy of Eradicator can either deal with spells or traps, and your copy of Trap Trick and your copy of Lord of the Heavenly Prison can actually set this card to your side of the field, as this card is able to actually treat a dark monster with 2,500 or more attack points, and then choose either spells and traps, check all spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field and your opponent's hand, and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn out of this card's activation, destroy all of the chosen type. So if your opponent's playing a very spell heavy deck, you can instantly win a game with this card, which is insane to be able to do, and it's very easy to get to with your copy of Trap Trick or being able to get to with your copy of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, so it's just really good in this build to be able to use. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with our main boss monster, Mirror Force Dragon. Mirror Force Dragon is one of the most powerful cards ever created, with your copy of Fang of Critias being able to use a trap card to fusion summon this card. This card must be special summoned with the Fang of Critias, and using Mirror Force, it cannot be special summoned by other ways. And when a monster you control is targeted for an attack or by an opponent's card effect, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. That is an insane ability to be able to use just to board wipe your opponent, or basically just playing the game, and it's one of my favorite fusion monsters ever created. And like a single copy of Doom Virus Dragon. This card is really good to be able to play in the deck as a 1-of, and it's very easy to summon in this build, but you only need a single copy of this card, because once it resolves, you're pretty much going to win the game. And if this card is special summon, you check your opponent's hand and all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn after this effect is activated, and destroy all those monsters with 1,500 more attack points, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use. Basically just lock down your opponent so you can have an easy game state to be able to lock down your opponent using Mirror Forces if they do choose to attack. We then play a single copy of Mud Dragon, a single copy of Garua, a single copy of Starving Venom, and a single copy of Dracostapelia. These are the super poly targets I felt like were the best in the game, and they're just really good in this particular build. Basically just use super poly to basically just fuse away our opponent's cards, using these cards so we can basically break our opponent's board to deal with anything that Mirror Force doesn't deal with. And the best one in the entire extra is actually Starving Venom, to be able to use their copy of Lair, because if you have Lair face up and you use super poly, you can use any monster your opponent has because they'll all be dark. Then a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is really good in the deck, and in playtesting, I did summon Typhon a lot in the deck going second, and it's hilarious to be able to summon Typhon because normally the opponent will actually try and swing over a copy of Typhon, and they really can't do that in this deck because you have so many different Mirror Forces. So you can use this card as a skill drain for 3,000 or attack point monsters, and you can use it to bounce cards off the field. And it's a very big boss monster that you can easily summon in this deck. And a single copy of Underworld Goddess to out towers like boss monsters, one copy of Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, which is basically invincible with all these Mirror Forces in the deck, is usually the way your opponent's going to swing over this card, and also it's very difficult to deal with because if you use IP, then it can't be destroyed by battle, or it can't be destroyed by card effects, which is insane. It's going to be very difficult to destroy by battle because of its own effect, and it's just really hard for your opponent to deal with this card because it also cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed by card effects, and it's very difficult for your opponent to destroy by battle because you have your Mirror Forces basically protecting it. So this card is really insane to be able to summon. I'm going to single copy of Abao Aku, the Lightless Shadow. This card is great in the deck as a 1M, and it does require 2 monsters, including a Fiend monster, which your tokens are Fiends, so it's very easy to summon this card to your side of the field. I'm going to single copy of the Dark Charmer. Dark Charmer is just really good in the build as a 1-up to be able to make. 1 copy of SP to be able to use as a double interruption. 1 copy of Mudracker to be able to use this card as a Monster Reborn in the deck. And then finally play a single copy of IP. IP is really good to be able to go in for your copy of Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, Underworld Goddess, or even SP during the opponent's turn, which is actually insane to be able to do. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is actually insane, and how easy it is to be able to control the board with all of your insane Mirror Forces, because the majority of players don't play around them anymore, which is insane how easy it is to be able to swing into a copy of Mirror Force and lose your entire field, which is hilarious to be able to do. And it's just such a fun deck to be able to play, because you get to play one of the most iconic cards ever created, Mirror Force. So that's going to do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.